A director fresh off blockbuster hits, a beloved sci-fi novel with a built-in fan base, visual effects that could bend reality itself, everything aligned for the next great franchise. Instead, the director realized it wasn't working while cameras were still rolling. The studio spent $85 million, the cast barely hid their frustration on camera, and the franchise died before it even began. This is the story of ambition meeting disaster. The warning signs appeared before a single frame was shot. February 2008. Jumper arrives in theaters with serious franchise ambitions. David Rice discovers he can teleport anywhere in the world. The Paladins, a secret society, hunt him down to exterminate all jumpers. On paper, the pieces fit perfectly. Doug Liman, The Bourne Identity, Mr. and Mrs. Smith sat in the director's chair. Stephen Gooda's acclaimed 1992 novel provided the source material with sequels already written. The studio greenlit an $85 million production spanning 20 cities across 14 countries. They shot inside the Roman Colosseum, at the pyramids, across Tokyo's neon streets. The crew negotiated rare access to film for 3 days inside the Colosseum. They could only shoot from 6:30 to 8:30 a.m. and 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. to avoid disturbing tourists. No equipment could touch the ground. 4 Steadicams ran simultaneously to maximize the narrow windows, but beneath this technical achievement, the script was a battlefield. 3 screenwriters, David Goyer, Jim Ulls, and Simon Kinberg, each brought different visions. Batman Begins, Fight Club, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Pedigree everywhere. But their competing approaches created a screenplay with no unified voice. The foundation cracked in April 2006. Tom Sturridge landed the lead. Teresa Palmer would play his love interest, an intimate story about an 18-year-old discovering his powers. Then producer Tom Rothman delivered a devastating note. Adults won't watch a movie about an 18-year-old. You need a 25-year-old who can carry a romance. Production halted in June 2006. 2 months later, just 2 weeks before filming, Hayden Christensen replaced Sturridge. Rachel Bilson took over for Palmer. The studio needed a more prominent actor to anchor an $85 million franchise starter. Christensen had just come off Star Wars films that grossed $649 million and $868 million worldwide. Name recognition, box office pedigree, but they got more than they bargained for. By 2008, Christensen wasn't associated with Star Wars success. He was associated with everything fans hated about the prequels. The "I hate sand" monologue had become a punchline. Critics couldn't discuss Jumper without relitigating Anakin Skywalker. Anthony Lane of The New Yorker captured it perfectly. One day, the rich mantle of charisma will descend upon him, but Jumper is not that occasion. And that mattered, because every late rewrite meant the actors were reacting to scenes instead of understanding them. Scripts changed overnight. Liman found himself directing a different movie than the one he'd spent months preparing, with an actor the internet had spent 3 years mocking. That decision changed everything, but the real chaos was just beginning. Doug Liman had a specific vision. He wanted to subvert superhero conventions. His protagonist wouldn't save the world. David Rice would use his powers selfishly, robbing banks, living hedoniously, no heroic transformation. Liman called himself a contrarian. He had deconstructed the spy thriller with The Bourne Identity. Now he'll deconstruct the superhero origin story. The problem? He realized his mistake while filming. In a 2018 interview, Liman admitted he knew Jumper wasn't working during production itself. The cliches exist because they work. His experimental approach felt hollow. The problem wasn't that Liman was strong. It's that he realized he was wrong after the machine was already moving. He showed the studio his cut. They told him audiences would riot if the hero acted selfishly in the finale. Liman agreed to reshoot the ending, making David more conventionally heroic. The compromise satisfied no one. The film lost its contrarian edge while while gaining no emotional payoff. The DVD extras feature an unusually candid behind-the-scenes segment. Actors barely hide their frustration through forced smiles, describing how Lehman changed scripts day to day, never settling on coherent vision. Cast members showed up to set with no idea what they'd be shooting. The director couldn't explain what the movie was about. Character study, global action spectacle, love story. The tonal whiplash bled into every frame. And this is where it all collapses. The real catastrophe. They forgot to finish the story. Before filming began, the studio announced trilogy plans. Producer Lucas Foster explained they'd mapped out a 3-film arc. The concept grew too large for one movie. They sliced the story deliberately, leaving room for sequels. This decision poisoned everything. Jumper plays like a 90-minute tease. 3 major plot threads dangle without resolution. First, David's mother Mary, played by Diane Lane. She abandoned David as a child when she discovered he was a jumper. She's actually a high-ranking paladin has been secretly protecting him. The movie hints at years of international conflict, a mother torn between her organization's mission and her son's life. We see one brief scene where she helps David escape, then she disappears. No confrontation, no explanation, no resolution. Second, Griffin's revenge quest. His parents were killed by Roland. Griffin represents what David could become, consumed by vengeance. The movie sets up whether David will embrace Griffin's rage or find another path. Then Griffin gets trapped in power lines mid-battle and vanishes from the film. His entire arc unresolved. Third, the Paladin organization itself. Roland mentions they've been hunting jumpers for thousands of years. They have unlimited resources, global reach, specialized equipment, but who funds them? How many paladins exist? Why do they believe jumpers are abominations? The religious angle gets mentioned once and never explored. The film runs just 88 minutes. Critics notice the conspicuous brevity. Compare this to The Bourne Identity, which Liam directed 6 years earlier. That film sets up a trilogy while telling a complete story. Jason Bourne discovers his identity, confronts Dreadstone, makes a choice about his future. The ending provides closure while opening doors for sequels. Or look at Iron Man, released the same year as Jumper. Tony Stark completes his transformation from weapons manufacturer to hero. The arc closes, but the post-credit scene with Nick Fury promises an expanded universe. Marvel understood the formula. Complete story first, franchise second. Jumper inverts this. The pacing feels frantic, racing past character development to hit action beats. Exotic locations flash by like a travelogue without context. David saves Melee by dumping his entire apartment into a river. He drops Roland in the Grand Canyon. Then credits. No confrontation with the Paladins, no reckoning with his mother, no resolution for Griffin. The film assumes audiences will return for answers in Jumper 2. Rotten Tomatoes 15%. Metacritic 35 out of 100. Cinema score B. Decent, not disastrous, but far from the franchise launch and enthusiasm the studio needed. Jumper doesn't end, it simply stops. The numbers show the brutal truth about those franchise ambitions. Jumper opened at number 1 with a $27 million weekend. By the end of its theatrical run, $80 million domestically, $222 million worldwide. Against an $85 million budget, it technically profited, but Hollywood accounting factors in marketing costs. The general rule demands 2.5 times the budget for actual profitability. Jumper fell short. More importantly, it generated zero enthusiasm for sequels. The film ranked 28th highest grossing movie of 2008. To understand how devastating this was, look at what worked that year. Iron Man grossed $585 million on a $140 million budget. It launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, now the highest grossing franchise in history. The Dark Knight made over $1 billion. Even Hancock earned $629 million. 2008 was the year audiences craved superhero stories with emotional weight and completed arcs. Tony Stark became Iron Man. Bruce Wayne faced the Joker and sacrificed his his reputation. Will Smith's Hancock found redemption. David Rice robbed banks and saved himself. That was the pitch. Audiences rejected it. The planned trilogy died immediately. No Jumper 2 ever entered development. You can't build a franchise on a first draft. Christensen's leading man career never recovered. He retreated to smaller independent projects. Takers in 2010, Vanishing on 7th Street, director-to-video releases. He bought a farm in Ontario and largely disappeared from Hollywood until his Star Wars redemption in Obi-Wan Kenobi in 2022 and Ashoka in 2023. Lehman moved on to The Edge of Tomorrow in 2014, which many consider his best work, but Jumper haunted him. In 2018, he launched Impulse, a YouTube premium series set in the Jumper universe. Impulse followed 16-year-old Henrietta Henry Coles, who discovers her jumping abilities are triggered by emotional distress. The series explored trauma, consent, and power in ways the film never attempted. Lehman called it his chance to fix his creative regrets. Impulse received significantly better reviews than the film. Critics praised its mature handling of difficult subjects and character development, but it was cancelled after 2 seasons in 2020. The YouTube premium model never gained traction against Netflix, Amazon, and Disney+. The franchise had one last guess, a graphic novel, a novelization of Griffin's backstory, a video game for Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, and Wii. All forgotten now. The Jumper concept had legitimate potential. Goldie's books continued successfully. Reflex in 2004, Impulse in 2013, EXO in 2014. Readers embraced his vision, but the film adaptation burned so bright and so briefly that it poisoned the IP forever. Jumper stands as a monument to mismanagement. Every decision seemed logical in isolation. Cast a recognizable star, hire a proven director, plan for sequels, shoot in exotic locations, but the execution crumbled under the weight of competing visions and compromised artistry. The film demonstrates a simple truth. Franchises aren't built on potential. They're built on complete, satisfying first installments that made audiences desperate for more. Jumper did the opposite. It showed audiences an unfinished movie and asked them to trust there was something better coming. There wasn't. Jumper didn't fail because it lacked imagination. It failed because no one finished the story they started. If you found this deep dive into Jumper's failure fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more movie analysis. And drop a comment with the biggest franchise failure you'd like us to cover next. Thanks for watching.